So I wanted to film this video. Finally got out of the city. Just decided to do it. It's good to have the contrast. Bunch of people, then going into beautiful park. The sky, getting connected with everything. It's just really just a beautiful experience today. And yeah, I just kind of wanted to talk about some stuff that I've really learned to develop in these past 2 years. And those things are basically the executive control. The executive control is basically this part of your brain. It's called the frontal lobe. This is the part of your brain, obviously underneath the skull. And that part of the brain's job is to make decisions, to plan, to execute. And if you're like me, you were a psych major, you just heard that, you had to memorize the term, and that was basically the end of it. You had to direct yourself to remembering things, recall, rehearsing, and all that stuff. And yeah, I went through that process, and I never realized how underdeveloped my frontal lobe was. And about 28 now, how it's still kind of underdeveloped in a certain sense. They say the brain stops developing at around 25. I don't know if it really gets to a certain point where it doesn't stop developing, but you're always having to do the same kind of decision-making processes. But you're given different inputs, different resources, different thoughts, different theories that you can direct the rest of your brain towards. So I wanted to share some of the things that I wish I knew learning that in school, because they just give you the textbook, and a lot of the times they themselves don't really understand it, or at least they don't lead off to it, in contrast of not understanding it. So what I wanted to do in this video was share what it was like to realize, looking back, how I didn't have a lot of that on register. And so, number one is memorization. I was actually really good at that. I thought psychology would be fantastic. It was a different kind of reasoning skill than mathematics, even though, ironically, I'm more a math brain person. When you look at my standardized test, I always score higher on math, yet I didn't want to major it, and I have this belief that I'm not good at it. I decided that this major, taking psychology, would be easier because all I really have to do is memorize things, and I would get good grades. And I just didn't realize how I was being programmed. You get a little dopamine, you're following this track, and then they give you this feedback. And as I'm older and I'm not in formalized education and formalized systems, I really appreciate that structure that was made and given, and I just never really questioned it until this part in my life where I am understanding more and more what it takes to really create things and make things. And that's kind of what inspires this video, is the executive control, the executive function. That's what it is. How you're actually developing it and developed in it is you're creating things. If you are, say, memorizing for a speech, you are essentially utilizing this function to deliberately make yourself memorize what you're going to say. But when you are in the bigger structure of school or formalized education, that is the end, and that is the it's basically where you're meeting somebody else's frontal lobe and plan. And even if you work for a company, it's the same exact thing. The end is what is already there. So it's not a full appreciation of creation. You look around here and it's all this beautiful grass, and then You know, you see these trees, they take a long time to really grow and foster, you know, and if you've taken any discipline, skill seriously or picked up a new skill, you know, I do mindset coaching, so that's what I like to teach. You recognize the stages of infancy and learning and putting in the reps, memorizing, all that stuff. And that's kind of a function of the frontal lobe. So let me break it down. You have 3 forms of understanding things, and that's higher order thinking. That's understanding deeper concepts, difficult concepts, theories, laws, physics, all that kind of stuff. That's a higher level thinking. So the ways that we understand things is the first level is understanding cognitively, and that's the thinking level. So I know that, you know, the theory of relativity exists, right? Light, seeing light, and, you know, then it's looking from its perspective, and that's basically how that's working. I understand that intellectually. And this is the biggest thing that I had. And I was told this so much by people, and it kind of always irked me, because it was just like this way that people would just kind of like try to jive me, and I just didn't have the understanding of it. I was like, oh, you're just after me for my age. Like, I know this stuff. I know this. And I really got smacked in the face. Like, what happens with our brains is they actually connect with others, and they connect with other people's understandings, and that is actually different parts of the brain being connected. The second part of understanding is the limbic system, the emotional brain, and that happens through deliberate, repetitive use of, say, things like the basics, things that you can apply knowing the theory, right? It's a pragmatic sense. Okay, cool. Well, I can know all this stuff, but what's the takeaway? Why does this actually matter? And then taking the things that you can apply to the creative act, to the serving act, that becomes learned, you know, over time through that repetition in the emotional kind of understanding, the limbic system, the emotional mind. And you look at the emotions as feedback, because you're doing the same thing all the time, but here's the difference: context, right? People gain this understanding. I gained this probably when I was like 22 years old. I was ready to graduate. You know, people would ask you questions. You'd be like, oh, it depends. It depends. Which for some people, it literally becomes an excuse to just cop out actually giving a real answer. And like, it depends. It depends. It's like, dude, I want to see your critical thinking skills. And they just kind of cop out with it. But no, like actually understanding that, you know, that's actually a symptom. You know, if somebody's like, they're saying those things, like they're actually going off of what you call groupthink. If you're an MBTI, you know, extroverted thinking, you're leaning on somebody else's thought, which when you don't have that, you can actually see and sense that your emotional mind doesn't actually understand something when you have to put it into motion, when you have to apply the basics and you don't actually understand what you're talking about, and you just know the theories and you think you do. People put you on the spot. They connect with you because they can literally see those parts of your brain. They can feel it. Like the more you get in tune with your skill and your craft, the more you know. You can tell a charlatan, you can tell somebody that's congruent, somebody that's sincere, and somebody that understands it. And, you know, when you look at the word emotion, you have energy in motion. So when you're doing the reps, you get all kinds of emotions that are showing you how you're doing with them. You know how they're supposed to go or how they can go. And you're discovering how they can go. And that's all energy. That's all motion. You get excited. Whoa, wait a minute, I got something. Wait a minute. Wait, what if I did this? Right? So you're now integrating your theory mind. What if I, boom, and then the emotions energizing it, and there's that motivation that's in there, the motive, the energy in motion, and you're expending. That's the frontal lobe is tapping into it to expend energy into doing the reps. Now you forge your mind as you build those reps and you create your dopamine system, and your dopamine system helps you energize and look for cues of how you can change what exactly you're doing. And it does this to help be efficient. It helps, and this is why it's a deeper level of understanding. You get the reps in, and you learn different things, and you learn mistakes. And that mistake actually hurts. So that's another emotion, pain, sometimes frustration. So then your brain now shifts, pulls back, you know, all the connections that it makes. It says, no, bad. Don't make the connection. Disconnect that one. And then you're going to learn, like, okay, well, what if I do it like this way? Your brain cells start moving this way, like this. And it finds all these angles. And eventually it finds things that make sense. They give you an awesome result. And, you know, it moves. Another part that you're going to have when you're doing all the repetitions, you know, I used to have to do scales and stuff like that. You know, I have this guitar right here. And I never had formal lessons, but I used to play the viola. And they made us do a bunch of scales. And when you have a lot of experience doing those basics, you create the third level, which is embodiment. Now, we're going to get to that. I don't want to jump too far ahead because we still got to knock down the last bit of the limbic system, the second level of understanding, the emotional part. So when you feel a sense of boredom, like, that's actually a good sign. And let me tell you why. Because well, it really, you have to understand, like, how I've understood it so that you can understand it. So I didn't realize that, like, I would get so bored and I'm like, I'm not challenged and all this. But I was always using my teacher's excellence, my teacher's understanding, who created the umbrella for me to experiment in. Like, they designed and they guided the lesson, and, like, based off of what they knew, so that they would be able to correct me. Now, when you are forging, and this is huge for people that want to make massive life change, and this is why I do mindset coaching. When you want to make, like, real change, like, say you want to be the first in your family, go to college, first one in your family to start a business, or whatever it is, you're doing the first, you're unfamiliar, picking up a new skill, right? Like, you are pushing up against what you don't understand. And for some people, especially when you're playing with bigger toys that can kill you, toys that require a lot of resources, toys that have a massive impact, right? Like, you have a instinctual fear. That's that emotional part of the brain. You have a fear of the consequences of not getting it right. And then you got the ego, right? This is just a reflection of it. But then, like, the actual reality and the stake and, like, you know, not having your head up in the sand, like, you know, your stuff actually matters. So when you're in the process of creation, having those reps and continuing to stick to a plan that you connected, or you found some resources of what to do, you mix things together. What if I did this? What if I tried this? And then you find the core fundamentals and the basics of the skill that you need in order to make it happen. You put in the reps, and it's scary. It's scary at first. I remember the first time I was learning how to public speak. First time I was learning how to speak on, you know, this screen here, getting worried about what I was going to say. Oh, you know, all that kind of stuff. You finally get bored. Boredom is like a great sign, because guess what? You're not scared anymore. You're not scared. And then you put in the reps over and over again, and you get that muscle memory built, and that energy and motion, you get used to it, and your dopamine system gets used to forging itself over and over again. Now you have connections, you have access. I can do it like this. I can try this. You see where I'm going with this? And this is going to develop over time. Listen, playing solos, playing instruments, whatever it is, you get this thing. It's called unconscious competence. And what that's like is that kind of exploration, what if, like the what if and the confidence, boredom as like the familiarity, as like the foundation, and the what if, you can now explore. You can explore, what if I did this? What if I did this? What if I did this? And then you can practice that and create it. And soon this joy starts happening. This excitement starts happening. It's still the emotional understanding. What if I did this? What if I tried this? Right? Part of the emotional understanding is how it connects with other people. I mean, all things, it's all emotional. It's the emotional point. Like, the purpose to do anything is to serve other people, or to serve some end that is eventually going to serve other people. Otherwise, you'll be, and like some people literally have this. And yeah, if you want coaching on this, I will help you. If you have a underdeveloped emotional mind, like some people, they have such bad stuff. Like, you can literally feel, it's like their limbic system burns, and they're just cognitive, and they just live in their heads, and they don't actually like do anything with it. Like, they're so smart that they're dumb. Don't be that. You know, apply the basics, try things. And this is what I didn't understand myself, is that when you are using your frontal lobe, your executive function, you are using your emotions to move yourself to do something. You have the right inputs, but it's like, okay, well, let me do something. Let me create something. Let me make something. People don't even do this unless they have a reason why they should do it, which is, again, the emotional mind. Why should you do it? Well, why should you do anything? You feel the emotions when you're randomly doing things. And some people become slaves to just their emotional brain, pleasure, pain, and they just stick to that. Avoid the pain, stick with the pleasure. They numb their brains when they have excessive pleasure, and their life just becomes nothing. And some guy just comes along, they see that, they connect with you, so you feel it. There's less, I feel understood. My emotional brain is engaged. Then they do that, then they connect with you, and guess what they do? They lead you. And that's what I was getting. You're now led by their frontal lobe. You're now in somebody else's frame of reference, somebody else's creation, somebody else's life. And some people, they become like clingers, like clinging little boogers. And then they're not happy. You know what I mean? Like, you can go your own way. You can create things. You can connect with people the way you want to connect with them. And like, everybody has their own diversity. Everybody has their own theories of how things should go and how they connect. And you can do the same thing. Now, your talent, your gift, your skill, the thing that you're learning, you can learn how to use that to connect better. You can use that in order to serve people better, more effectively, and you synthesize the language and you connect it. You connect it with other people. Now, these are more advanced concepts, right? Because, you know, some people, let's talk musicians. Some musicians will literally do it where they just stay in their own understanding, and they play their music like that. They keep their understanding inside the music that they already play, and they don't connect with their crowds. They don't connect with the people that are there, but they're good musicians. It's just like, it sucks to watch them. Why? Because they don't actually connect, because they're afraid of bridging that understanding and connecting with where they're at, what they want to hear. The last stage of understanding is embodiment. What is the body saying? Does the body have energy? There's energy patterns that you can follow. You follow the energy patterns you pick up. Oh, that reminded me of this. And you have just a massive, massive, massive amount of repetitions and energy and emotion, energy and motion, boom, basics, boom, 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 boom. You're instinctually going to know this will give the crowd more energy. This is what we need to do. This is how we're going to push the envelope. This is the right what if that I need to step into that's going to make my art amazing. And you got that, your understanding brain is like, yo, we gotta try this. We're gonna take a risk here. Yeah, and then it directs it. What I didn't know when I started understanding the frontal lobe was that I could direct my energy right? That executive function, that's what they would teach us. The executive function is in control of all parts of the brains, but they never talked about it because they never did what? The emotional awareness. They never talked about the energy that's involved in the creative process. They never talked about having fears. They talk about the amygdala, they'll talk about these parts, but they never synthesize and connect them in a masterful way. So, I recognized the umbrellas and the structures that I was provided, they weren't enough. But guess what? I got all that cognitive understanding. At least we had cognitive understanding. We had books, we had people to teach it, repeat what the book said, maybe in a little bit of a different way or based off of their understanding, have tests that kind of make us remember it and memorize it better, but that's about it. There's nothing applied. No applied psychology. What does it have to do with anything? You kind of had to use your own understanding. Maybe I could do this. Oh, maybe this reminds me of somebody. Oh, this person, that, boom, 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 right? But anyway, as far as where you're concerned, if you want to study psychology, I suggest studying psychology. So, you'd understand things like reticular activation system. You can look for cues, energetic cues, connection cues, friendly cues, closed off cues. And that's all the limbic system, but that's going to help with how you communicate what you're doing. This helps with like sales, it helps with music, it helps with public speaking, it helps with relationships. Having a better understanding of psychology in general, this is what I got into it for. You are always going to deal with people. You're going to be dealing with your own psychology. You might as well know how it works, right? Like, emotions as temporary. That's a cognitive understanding that you can assert onto your emotion. And then how you program the reps that you're doing, the reps of forgiveness. Even if the emotions aren't there, you get references for it using spiritual principles or higher principles: honesty, truth, beauty, order, planning, executing, adding, pro-social behavior. All these things, you can do them, and we have all kinds of science that says, hey, this is beneficial, this is going to help, this is great. The science points at it. A lot of people do know the things that are good and add life, they just don't know how to put them together. And understanding the basics and the fundamentals is super important so that you can do the reps. What makes somebody a master is not just the basics, it's the basics on repeat. And then the three processes of understanding: cognitive, emotional, embodiment, putting the pieces together in a masterful way. And what people get to do, and this is what I'm saying, when you're on the part of creation in the embodiment stage, you get to kiss everything goodbye. Now you're in the unknown. Now from the unknown, you can approach it with your what if. Now, your gift and your skill is how you're going to do it. Because, the grand scheme, if you're pulling the umbrella out, we literally are free. We have this free will, this free understanding, and this free capability. And, what happens, when that stuff, the system, the programming, society goes out the window? Well, look at COVID. People had no idea what to do, and we looked. Who's the person? Who's the person we could stick our umbilical cord to, and give us all the answers, and give the safety, and give the protection, so that we can critique them. I remember we used to do this in school, critiquing teachers. Oh, this, that, and the other. Oh, and you learn the art of teaching through that. Being a teacher and being on the receiving end of it, because it's your emotional brain, and how does that help with the embodiment of what you're teaching. And if you want help with this, I'll teach you that. Energize teaching, getting the body involved in the teaching, and then how to tap into unity and stuff like that, which a lot of classrooms don't have. They're not teaching that stuff, and they just kind of shut you up. There's a whole rabbit hole. But essentially, the approaching of the unknown, you can do that best when you're most connected. You're most connected with either yourself, either with other people, either with your craft, and you have a vehicle to take you to the unknown. Now, a lot of people use time perception to do that, right? They get stuck in their future focus. They get stuck in the past focus, right? And then they're not in the present moment, so then they don't encounter. Or they think they know, which is that cognitive understanding, right? So that what if, right? That what if continues. It's a continuous cycle that's in the present moment, right? You get those reps in over and over again, and you begin to approach it as you go through the basics. You feel your way, what's going to give you the most energy, right? And your reticular activation system, that's the funny way of saying you're going to tune to the things that you want to hear. Once that gets connected, you're going to know what that means. And then how can I translate what I'm trying to do in a way that connects, in a way that makes sense, or in a way that's going to be innovative, helpful, it's going to add value. Now, when your mind is set to that, that's your North Star, that's your executive function, right? I set my mind, hey, I'm going to be a mindset coach. My brain works for me. See, that's the difference, right? And mindfulness will teach you this stuff, and it helps with, people have ADHD, or if people have concentration issues. Having mindfulness is super important, because then you have that objective thinking. Now, you program your brain. A lot of people, when they're that time focused, their brain is kind of programming them, and they think they're they just stop, and it's so easy to just go back to the old way, because you're disciplined that way. You have been programmed, right? You have been programmed a certain way, and it's easy to allow somebody to think for you, for somebody to give you the script to follow. But you have the option to do that, and you can go another way, or you can, what's up here? Let me try, what if I took, wait a minute, this is a system of thought too. What if I went here? Right? And then, it's higher order thinking, you just use your thinking brain for that. That's higher order frontal lobe development. But you, at the end of the day, you have your North Star. Then you will yourself to do things regardless of what your emotions are the consequence. Your emotions will just follow. It'll let you know how you're doing. That's all its job is. So you have your North Star, that's your executive function. Hey, I've made the decision to do it. Then your emotions, oh, I feel unfulfilled, oh, I feel sad, oh, I feel this, like that, like you have your longing. You have what you want. Your executive function has gone, but it hasn't bridged because you haven't done the reps. Now, if you don't know what the reps are, maybe you need to find a system of thought that you can think about. What if I tried these basics, right? What if I tried each of these ones? What's going to happen? You try those basics, you see what they do, you watch the results, and then you keep going. You keep analyzing, you think about it. What if, let me try that. Boom. How am I feeling about that? How are other people feeling about that? And then the process continues. So this is how you get integrated with your brain. That's what your executive function is supposed to do. Have your North Star, right? Know why you're doing what you're doing, right? Like what is your actual result in it? And if you need help clarifying that, because some people, they think they know, they think they got it, but like they're actually like after a different part of their brain, and like they're trying to get a need met, which just, it has nothing to do with anything we're talking about. Like, go get your need met. Like, it's that easy. Go get your need met. Your basic human needs, go get it. Go do it. Okay, and then come back. All right, because this is coaching, right? This ain't therapy. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe. If you wanted to kind of share, share in the comments, like what your discipline is, like how does this relate? Any awesome new ideas come from this? I know this video isn't like one that's like super energetic, but I want you to understand that cognitive level. This stuff can get demonstrated with different disciplines. It can get integrated with things like social intelligence, teaching, energy, virtue, vitality, and more like metaphysical things. And this is the cognitive understanding. Like I work with drug and alcohol clients, so like they literally would not understand anything I'm saying, but I am speaking directly to, I'm breaking the fourth wall, and I'm connecting to the kind of people that really want to you know, they're smart and they really want to make some real changes in their life. They understand a lot of things. They're committed to self-discipline. You know, they are already understanding the value of accountability, and they want to go further. They already know that they're good, and they want to find somebody that's good at what they do and they specialize in. That's me. I do psychology. So if you want help, I'm speaking directly to you. If you want help, if you want mindset coaching, if you want me in your network, reach out to me. All right, send a DM, my Instagram / Patrick Hohen Show. I'll type it in the comment section, or not the comment section, the description, so you guys can see that. You reach out to me, and yeah, hopefully this inspired something awesome in you. I know that, like, when my reticular activation system, I already got my North Star, my reticular activation is going, my brain's working for me. It's coming up with answers that are embodiments and other people displaying their excellence. And, you know, I'm hoping that's the end result of this. So, you know, I'm hoping in the future, you know, North Star baby is getting the reps in with live events and really displaying a lot of this stuff and demonstrating this. I know that when I'm in those situations, like, my brain is coming up with these new answers. I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. Like, what if I did this? And you get this sense of wonder, and then boom, you just execute, do the basics, boom, do it, do the thing, right? So yeah, that's like a value exchange. That's a value of masterminds, you know, just basically drawing out these parts of brain, these parts of understanding, because one man is no different than somebody else. You know, you have virtue, you know, the heartbeat, the excite, the injection of energy, you know, energy moving upwards instead of downwards. I'll do a whole video on that. Actually, I think I did the David Hawkins video, Levels of Consciousness. Watch that video. It literally is everything. You see different dimensions in life and different excellences, and people, like, it's like your limbic system just like bridges, like, it's possible to the North Star. Like, it's just like, here's a way that's paved in their brain, and you'll like feel it, and you'll be like, this is possible. All right, like, you hang out with you know, expensive people. You hang out with people that are disciplined or better than you, or like niched in an area, or you know, any of that stuff. This is why, you know, my niche audience are people that are already into self-help, and like, you find the way. And, you know, you already know this if you're watching this. Some people, you know, we're warming you guys up to understanding what this stuff is. A lot of people don't know what self-help actually is, and they don't know what they're capable of. So anyway, if you guys did like this video, if this did inspire something, I would like to know. You know, I would like to hear, so I can get my emotional understanding to know I'm making a difference. You know what I mean? I've seen difference before, but, you know, I'm cultivating that understanding even deeper. So, yeah. All right. I'll see you guys in the next one.